It's been a while. So before we get started, I actually want to establish a bit of context first. Back in 2023, I had a ton of different video ideas for this channel, and one of them was playing and reviewing obscure Gmod maps I found on the workshop. Two parts of this were recorded from the time, which was June of that same year. Part 2 is infinitely more interesting since I cover a series of maps called GM Iter, which tell the story of a map-making algorithm getting progressively more and more corrupt. So I thought it'd make for a relatively interesting video at the time. As for why I never uploaded it, it was mostly because I wasn't very accustomed to video editing back then, so the idea of editing an hour-long recording was just daunting to me. Now, at some point, the creator actually removed all of his workshop content, including the Iter maps. Now, re-uploads of these maps do exist on the workshop, however, they actually lack the original descriptions of them, and wouldn't you know it, my recording of it from back then actually includes all the descriptions, and in some cases I even painstakingly read them out. Now, the last thing I should mention is that there were a total of 19 of these maps, however, my recording only covered maps 1 through 9, since those were the only ones out at the time. And so, there's really no other way around it. What I have here is lost media, or I guess found media in this case since I'm choosing to actually upload it. I know this is pretty different from what I normally do, so consider this as just a one-off or as a glimpse into what this channel could have been. Well, anyway, I think that's enough from me now. I'll just go ahead and let Past Me do his thing from here. So let's just get started. Now, I'm just going to finish this off by playing these maps. These stood out to me specifically because of how they're presented. Now, these maps were made by Deraskis. He made a bunch of these maps. They're kind of like quest storyline maps, where you have a bunch of objectives you can do, and you can complete them in any order, and you get like different endings and all that. They're pretty fun. I've played a few of them. But these maps stood out to me because, well, they aren't story maps, but if we look at the description, this is where things get interesting. The description for the map kind of makes it look like some kind of system log of sorts. You know, we have things like initializing, available tiles, errors none, warning, long compilation times detected, decreased lighting quality, expect visual glitches, and then all this other stuff. But then there's also the user report, which says, that's interesting. To see how canal tiles have formed some sort of fractal that filled the entirety of available simulation space. I remember this bug has been fixed for a long time ago, but it is still reoccurring. And then we also have things like, apparently forced symmetry algorithm have been used to deal with the canals, fractal, all the islands are mirrored. Now, what's interesting about the user report, as we can see, you can't comment on this. You know, there's nothing, the discussion page, it don't exist. So we just kind of have to delve into this ourselves and just see what's up. And as you can tell from the map thumbnails, they kind of get more, how do I say, deranged or dysfunctional as things go on. Now, if I'm being honest, I actually have checked out only the first two, just to kind of see what they're like, but I'll still show them anyway. So, here we are in Iter 1, and at a first glance, nothing really seems that, you don't really see anything out of the ordinary. It just kind of looks like one of those standard RP type maps, kind of like a basic RP life simulator server use. That looks weird. Yeah, it's like this texture's like misaligned. I don't know if this is intentional or not, but it does look weird. If I want to be more specific, this looks like the kind of map that a somewhat popular RP server would use. That's like, again, a life simulation. And then about 2-3 months later, Bub Games would join and then make a video talking about it, revealing how like the entire server staff are just full of pedophiles or something. Yeah, as you can see, there's a lot of like weird texture stuff going on. Got this building. Okay, you can break the windows. Cool. Again, this is pretty ominous. But if we look, we can see that I'm guessing this is what it meant by islands, because we can see there's 4 kind of quadrants we have. And also, if we look here too, we can see there's also some weird texture stuff going on here. Like, it's like a very abrupt cutoff and whatnot. But there's also a sewer, I think, right? So I think, yeah, I did mention a sewer. Oh. Let's see, is there anything of note in the sewers? Oh, well, here's that decreased lighting quality it mentioned. We have the poor optimization, it looks like. I swear, as someone who's kind of getting used to Hammer, optimizing your map can be kind of a pain, because you gotta, like, set a bunch of stuff to, like, func detail, make sure the lighting quality isn't, like, too high or anything, light maps and all that, and it can just be really time-consuming. I will say this map is quite unnerving. I think it's solely just from the ambience alone. You just have this quiet wind. I imagine if you were playing this as an RP server, it probably wouldn't be as unsettling, because you'd probably have a bunch of kids running around just screaming at you for no reason. RDM! Yeah, it doesn't look like there's really anything else to talk about. You can just tell it's desolate. Well, what better way to end this off than legalize nuclear bombs? Okay, next map. So, here we are in Iter 2. Actually, one thing I'm going to do too is I'm going to read all the descriptions for them too, just so we can kind of follow along with the lore here. So, Iter 2 starts off pretty similar, although it looks like we got some new warnings. Desolated islands formed, building time increased, singular brushes were used to fix up empty spaces, may result in wrong outputs. Let's see what we got for the user report. Desolated islands are always interesting. Both islands have ways in underground tunnels and sewers. This place feels like a prison for some reason. That's interesting. So already, it looks pretty similar to the first map, albeit it's a bit more detailed. It's not as big for one thing, and also we got some better environmental lighting too. And I mean, look at this. We got like street lamps. Got, you know, traffic lights. All that stuff. We even got street signs, even though there's no names on them. So it feels a bit more polished up. Got the same building though. Let's see, does it have the same layout though, I wonder? No, I think its layout might be different. And then again, I didn't really explore it in the first map too much, but this does look kind of different. Unless, I mean, at least the layout, the first floor looked kind of different. See, we need to look for, like, the weird oddities that stick out. Like, again, this kind of weird, like, metal wall thing, how it just gets cut off. And also this texture is back. But now it's just in this random alleyway. Now, it did mention a sewer, too. And this kind of surprised me. The sewers are a lot more expensive this time, because there's actually, if we look, we can see it's an actual sewer. And there's also this room over here with some ominous red lighting and a authorized personnel door. Now, as far as I know, this is just a texture. You can't interact with it. Now, this actually connects to a second part of the map. If we just kind of follow along here, we will end up at the other side of the map. Yeah, here we go. So this... that was weird. So if we go this way, through this winding corridor... Also, wait, these lights, they're on the ceiling for some reason, but this light, it's like on the wall. I actually did not notice this my first time playing this map, but that's weird. I'm guessing these maps are just going to have a lot of things where it's like, oh, that's kind of weird. Okay. Open sesame. You know what, screw it. We have this kind of small plaza-like area. Again, not much really to see, but we do have this tunnel. And I think you can actually break this glass as well. Hang on. Yes, you can. Cool. So we got this long road. Normally I would spawn in a car for more immersion, but you know, I'm kind of too cool for that, so we're just gonna... There we go. Got some road barriers. Oh, we can actually... yeah, we can pick them up. I actually did not know that. I mean, I don't think they're, like, harmful. Okay, do they kill me, though? That's the real question. Do they hurt me? Yes, they do. And, yeah, it leads back here. But then, where does this one lead, I wonder? Now, I doubt this map is going to have, like, any shadow people appearing, because that trope has kind of been done to death in recent times. So, I don't expect to see it, but overall, yeah, we can tell this map's a bit different, a bit improved, actually, both visually and layout-wise. Like, it doesn't feel as big or samey. It's got some more variety to it. which is good. But that is only the beginning. We'll move on to Iter 3 and see how things devolve. Oh, a no graph out of date, that's not good. So here we are on Iter 3. Let's read the description, see what's new here. So same things, no errors, no warnings this time, that's a good sign. Let's see. User report. Apparently the program decided that placing traffic lights all over the place is a nice move. I've got to agree with that. And yep, if we look, we do see a pretty noticeable influx of traffic lights. Even in places where they shouldn't be. Okay, so we got a lot more crosswalks and stoplights as a result. That's, again, pretty weird. This layout looks pretty different compared to the last one. So instead of that kind of little canal area, which is weird because it still said sewers 0, which I guess means available tiles to use. I guess just decided not to use them. But if we look, we'll just do a quick little zoom out and look around. You know, it's interesting how this map kind of makes itself ominous, not through, you know, spooky shadow people or dark lighting, but just from the desolate wind sounds. You know, there's that whole thing about Source games having that very lonely feeling, and solely I think it's just because of Half-Life, really. Half-Life 2. Hey, it's one of these buildings we can go in again. Is it the same? It's about the same. I guess this will be kind of like our reoccurring home base, if you will. Some place of familiarity, if you will. This little brick cabin. Oh, the traffic light's actually clipping into the house. Oh, that's not... Wait, I just noticed. Why are there two, like, right in front of each other? That's... Huh. Yeah, maybe they went a bit overboard on the traffic lights. Imagine the city's electricity bill. The electric bill. Alright, well, I think we may have seen enough of this map. Again, nothing really of note, aside from the massive influx of traffic lights. And even then clipping into buildings as well. So, I don't know, maybe the influx of traffic lights was not a nice move. Especially since some of them aren't even facing the road. Because, okay, like, these should be over here. But no, they're on this side. Actually, that's what I just noticed. All the traffic lights are only on one side of the road. And some of them just don't face the right direction either. So perhaps whatever program this person's using to make this map, because that's what it did say. Perhaps maybe it's not the best at presuming, I guess. I guess logical thinking, I guess you could say. Well, let's move on to Iter 4. Actually, I think I'm going to read the logs before we enter the map, just so we can kind of, I think it'd be more suspenseful. So Iter 4, okay, errors. Too many breakable physics objects, expect disabled collision. Let's do the user report. Reminds me of Iter 1, but in this case, it's a fractal of underground tunnel tiles. Gotta say, this is one of the best cases where when procedurally generated sewer is actually reminds one. Someone fix physics? Actually, all programmers are dead at this point. Ooh. That's ominous. Oh, I just got an engine error. Map with no textures. What? And the game just crashed. Wait, what? Okay, hang on. Again. Map with no Okay, well, apparently this map... Iter 4 apparently just does not work, which means we'll probably have to do this the manual way, I suppose. So, unfortunately, Iter 4... There's probably some kind of convoluted method I have to do to extract this thing. But whatever it is, yeah, it's just not working. I can probably get an idea of what it's like, because yeah, it reminds me of the first map, but in this case, it's a fractal of underground tunnel tiles. So, my guess is that it would be a lot like... It would have the layout of the first map, but it would also have a lot more scattered version of the tunnels from the second map. That's my only guess. Oh well, I guess we'll just have to move on to part 5 then. Okay, so there's been a bit of a development, as I found out today. He actually updated Iter 4, so it actually works now. The update note doesn't make a lot of sense, but whatever. You know, it's important that we can finally see what we were missing. And, Yeah, it's about what I expected, really. Not much really of note. Though I do want to find the breakable objects, because that's what he mentioned in the description. What? Oh. The windows just don't work. Yeah, it's about what I expected. Oh. That's a lot of tunnels. But I don't really see how this reminds me of Iter 1. I don't really see any correlation, if any. Or if there is, I barely see it. Oh. The ladder doesn't work. Oh, but... So wait, this... Yeah, I think I saw one of these map segments from Iter 6. Now these are in the wall? Huh. Yep. Pretty extensive sewer section, I see. Are these windows breakable? No. Maybe this is what I meant by physics objects, I meant the windows. At least we got this mystery solved as to why this map didn't work. Alright, well, let's check out Iter 5 then. Oh, I got an achievement progress. Alright, let's see. Okay. Unable to read Canals 0 tileset data may be corrupted. Unable to use specified threads amount, lowering to possible maximum 4. Too high hardware temperature. Please check the server room. Warnings, none. Okay, user report. It was actually nice to see how all people I used to hate slowly died in flames, especially these corporate bosses. Data corruption slowly takes place. I wonder when I'll see corrupted parts of simulation. It looks normal, except abnormal amounts of parks all around the place. And here we are. Still got the same ambience. I imagine this is probably the layout of Iter 4, if I were to guess. Again, I couldn't tell since the map would just not work, and I couldn't even extract it either. Yeah, Iter 4 maybe looked like something like this. But then again, each map did have its own... Actually, no, none of the maps had similar layouts. Only Iter 1 and 2 kind of did. But this one... Yeah, it says there's a lot more parks everywhere, and yeah. Wait, hang on. Listen to the wind ambience when I enter the park. Does it just, like, stop? Huh. So when you enter one of the little parks here, the wind ambience just cuts out. You can also tell, too, it's trying to use lighting to simulate the traffic lights. But it's pretty crude looking with how massive the range is. Also, this one's red. Spooky. Now, wait, what did it say in the description? Something about people dying? Because it mentioned in 4 that all the programmers died. Is this the case where, like, people die and then their souls get trapped in the maps or something? I doubt it, but it's fun to think about. Ooh, an alleyway. Yeah, just at random parts the wind ambience cuts out. Though here it actually makes sense because we're, like, kind of behind some buildings. Maybe because we're around all the trees, it's kind of stopping the wind or something? I don't know. Let's see. Oh! Oh, it's a manhole, but there's no cover. Let's take a look at the sewer, see if anything's different. Again. Ooh, it uses the ominous door opening sound. Do these all just lead to empty rooms? Wait. I swear, this thing's I swear, this thing opened another door. Or not. Again, I imagine in Iter 4, the sewers would have probably looked like this. Oh, wait, these don't even lead anywhere. Actually, do any of the sewers lead anywhere, or do they all just lead to dead ends? I think they all just lead to dead ends. I don't want to, like, accidentally no-clip out of the map and, like, see stuff I'm not supposed to yet. Again, though, we have these sideways light fixtures again. Does this just take me back out in the street? It does. Oh, but we got a tunnel, though. We got our nice little familiarity, comfy house again. Comfy building. I doubt this has any kind of significance, but it's just nice to see something familiar in this unsettling world that we've stumbled into. Is this just the same? Okay, so it's kind of just the same from Iter 2. Albeit, I'm guessing it's more condensed. Oh, and then we're back on the street. Wait, did it just loop? Okay, wait, yeah, this just loops. Also, wait, if you think about it too, like, where do these lead? Because if we look, we can see it just leads here. Unless it leads down, which I doubt it, because none of these tunnels ever led down. So, well, let's see, are these windows still breakable? They're still breakable. Good to know. Ow. I think we've seen all there is to Iter 5. Let's move on to Iter 6. Now, Iter 6 also looks like where things start to get kind of messed up. Let's see what we got for the description. Alright, so you got the same threads, canals missing, high standard. Unable to read skybox data, reverting to black solid color. Oh, that's never good. Filler 0, tile data corrupted. Attempted to restore. Tile placeholder handler, reverting to default logic. Alright, let's see what we got for warnings. Long compilation time detected, decreased lighting quality, potential long visibility optimization, using experimental visibility clusters optimization, expect visual glitches, and the user report print goodbye world. That's not good. Well, Iter 6. Now we're really delving into the deranged. Well, let's see. The error has some text on it. Let's see. Error. Please report the problem to programmer. Now, it did mention some texture errors, but also this. Oh, it's. Oh, wait a minute. It's like sideways. What the hell? Oh, I thought that was a ladder, but no, it's a railing. I think the ambience is a bit different. Like, there's like holes in the world. We got these like chunks kind of just loading into areas where they shouldn't be. So, at least we got our little nice little familiarity house. So, oh, is this thing? This thing is still here. We didn't actually see this in Iter 5. This little room. Another one. Are we just gonna be like? Are we just delving into the perpetual unknown? But yeah, it's becoming more apparent what's, I think, happening here, story-wise. How it looks like they were trying to use some kind of procedural generation system to generate map chunks, and then kind of just stitch those chunks together to make a map, I suppose. But it looks like at this point, it's becoming very, very corrupted. It doesn't help either that apparently, allegedly, all of the programmers and stuff, all the people working on it, the corporate big, the big bucks, they all just kind of perished. They're gonzo. And, according to Iter 6, our main user report guy, who I'll just refer to as our narrator, he's kind of went off the deep end too, and he basically, I guess, committed suicide. Yeah, it just becomes more of a unplayable mess, too. What I want to know is, like, why the red lighting? Like, where is it coming from? Because I don't, unless it's coming from the error texture, or that's what it's meant to be coming from. I don't know how much there is to this map, but it looks like we may have explored all of it again. Well, I mean, then again, what is there to even explore? Right. Let's just move on to part 7. Okay, so sewers is missing from the available tiles. Let's see. Unable to use specified thread. Okay. Oh, so yeah, sewer data tile set is now corrupted, so it doesn't appear. And other than that, oh look, filler 0, it's corrupted, attempted to restore. So it's trying to restore these 3. Let's see, warning, long compilation times detected, decreased lighting. Okay, so same thing as before, but also we don't have a user report anymore because, as you saw in Iter 6, our narrator potentially ended his own life. A lot more errors, and somehow this looks more... it looks less corrupted than Iter 6. Like, there's not just chunks floating everywhere. But alright, we got some different... I think these are the same buildings, but just with errors. Well, at least our... I'm guessing this house, this little structure here, this, I'm guessing, is the building 0 it keeps referring to. I'm guessing the building set. And how this one is just not corrupted. And it's always been here in every map so far. We do have some very bright blue lighting as well. Alright, this doesn't really resemble any of the other previous maps, so it looks like it's trying to, like, restore itself. But then again, none of the staff is keeping it up, so how is it doing this? Now, what's interesting is Iter 4 mentioned there was a bunch of supposedly breakable physics objects, but I haven't seen any of those in the other maps, like 5 and 6. and even this one. So I'm guessing it meant like the environment. Maybe there was like boxes and stuff you could break, like stuff with funk breakable. Maybe that's my only guess. But again, what I think makes this ominous so far is not like the fact there's like shadow people or, you know, a moster chasing you. Moster. It's just, you know, it starts off normal and just kind of gets more messed up as things go on. Maybe it's the lack of the fact there's not really any apparent threat and we're just kind of witnessing something or someone just completely lose it. And this map is kind of reflective of that. Like, I don't know. Like, actually, let me try something real quick. Yeah, I don't think this map would be more ominous with the shadow people. Yeah. Oh. Did you hear that? There's like a clinging sound, I swear, in the ambience. We can make a little scene here of the shadow people just kind of... Yeah, I do appreciate this guy for kind of making his own, like, error texture, not just using the dreaded purple and black error texture. You know, us Source Engine players are more used to seeing black and purple, usually. And it's usually in full bright, too. But here, no, we just got nothing. We just got this. I swear, this map is just messing with me. I am hearing, like... I don't know if it's just like the ragdoll messing with, but I am hearing like sounds. Like I hear like a thumping. Maybe that was just the ragdoll and I'm just going crazy. I don't know. That's weird, like the ambience keeps cutting back on, even though I thought I established that when you're in this little park area, the ambience just cuts out. It seems I have made a bit of a development here. Yeah, you hear that? It's like a whistling. A bird. Now that's creepy. You hear that? I wonder if this appeared in the other maps and I just didn't spend enough time in there to discover it. Yeah. That's creepy. Don't you agree, Mr. Shadow Man? This is all pretty creepy, right? So it seems like some ambience still plays when you're in this little park area. What about the house, actually? Well, we may have seen all there is to Iter 7. So let's move on to Iter 8. Let's see what we got. The road tunnel is missing now. Let's see. Anything else of note? Nope. Just more corruption, it looks like. And no user report either. Alright. Again, no graph out of date. Well, here we are on Iter 8. Again, pretty similar looking to Iter 7. Although... only with one of the chunks missing, which was the road tunnel. Out of all the things that get corrupted, all the things that get removed, this building is still here. Despite everything, it's still here. We even got the reversed traffic light. Oh, wait, what the? Wait. So are these all just, like, interconnected? They are. Okay. We got a bigger little familiarity house building. Hey, watch this. I'm gonna break this window without even looking at it. Check this out. Again, it's quite small, although this is... ooh. Yeah. I'm guessing without the lack of the tunnels or the canals or anything, we just have this giant hole in the map now in the center. Like a giant error sinkhole or something. What the? Just in front of a wall. Yep. Wait, is it like... I thought it was like clipping out of bounds for a second there, but nope. Also, this thing goes on for quite a while, too. But we can't fall like into the void. Again, there doesn't seem to be much here of note. I guess we can see actually how some of the tiles work. So the only tiles that were available were building, road, and filler. Now, what I don't know is, what is the filler tile meant to be? Because we only have roads and buildings. I'm guessing the park is part of the building set. Is that why it's still here? Or at least partially still here? I'm guessing the filler is this giant hole in the ground, because it doesn't know what to put here, so it's just nothing. I'm glad I'm playing this during the day, because this would be quite unnerving to play like in the middle of the night. I think we got the idea. Let's round this off with Iter 9, which everything's gone, threads amount to 2, but more importantly, we got one more notable thing. Easter egg activate. If you see this, most likely you've got a lot of errors due to hardware problems. You better get out of the facility, if you can. This error message adds a floating text in generated simulation. Here we are. And as it stated, if we look up, machine death. Ooh, the ambience is more creepy too. I swear, the ambience just had like what sounded like footstep sounds. Same building that we can enter. Grown very accustomed to this place in the past almost hour I've been recording. But again, so all we have now is the building set. No roads, no anything. Not even a giant hole in the floor. I suppose all it's left to do now is try to interact with the machine death and see what happens. Whee! Nothing. Can I stand on it? You bet I can. Yep. I swear I just heard someone yelling for a second there. I think that's everything. There's really nothing left else to see here. Also, some attention to detail. The under the machine death thing, we see that error texture again. Because why would they need to texture the bottom of this apparent Easter egg? I guess since we're here, I might as well try to explain what I think, because clearly there was some kind of storyline happening here, albeit not a very in-depth one. But you know, let's just try to theorize with what we got. So, looking at Iter 1, I keep saying Iter 1, it looks like it was, yeah, some kind of generation algorithm they used to generate some kind of simulation. A simulation of what? I don't know. Some kind of real life. In 2, as we can see, it says it feels like a prison. The prison is likely the simulation itself. Like a metaphor of some kind. Iter 3 kind of dilutes a bit and says there's a bunch of traffic lights everywhere. It's interesting how the user report of our narrator says it's a nice move. I've got to agree with that. But they're traffic lights. Could this be a metaphor for more, I don't know, controlled regulation or something? Unfortunately, Iter 4, we couldn't play this one because it doesn't work. But it does say that someone fixed the physics. Actually, all programmers are dead at this point, which is a bit of a massive leap, because we did not hear anything about any prior programmer in the previous user reports. Well, actually, I guess the only time it's mentioned is Iter 3, where it says someone fixed the physics. Yeah, no, in 4 it says that. But in 3, it says the program decided to do that, so maybe someone tampered with the program. And then, of course, in Iter 5, it says, it's nice to see how all the people I used to hate slowly died in flames, especially these corporate bosses. Iter 6 is where things become more deranged, as it becomes more apparent that out of nowhere, our narrator just goes, print goodbye world. Actually, it's interesting. I wonder if you open the console to that map, it'll actually say that. And of course, Iter 7, we don't get any more user reports, but we can see that the simulation with no one regulating it, it's just kind of failing, becomes more unstable. But it's weird how in, I think it was 5? Yeah, he mentions, yeah, data corruption slowly takes place. I wonder when I'll see corrupted parts of simulation. But of course, he never got to see that because by the time of Iter 6, he's already gone. And then again, Iter 8 and 9 don't really have anything of note. Well, 8 doesn't really have anything of note, aside from some of the available tiles being missing. But then, of course, that brings us to Iter 9, which mentions the Easter egg activated, which says, of course, if you see this, most likely you've got a lot of errors due to hardware problems. You better get out of the facility. Now, that's interesting. It mentions a facility. This is not brought up before in any of the previous parts. My only guess was this facility was the one controlling the simulation, if you will. But with no one here to regulate it, it just kind of got a bunch of errors, and then it just crumbled. And all we're left with is a desolate abyss of nothing. Pretty interesting, I would say. Maybe there was meant to not be a story and this person just wanted to make these creepy on purpose or something. I don't know. But all I know is that these are definitely these are pretty unsettling. And I like that. Well, no better way to end off the simulation, I would say, than to, Iter, it was nice knowing you. It's clear no one cares about you anymore. So I think you, goodbye. That was fun. I really enjoyed these set of maps. There wasn't really any visual storytelling in these maps. It was all kind of log-based. There weren't really any hints in the maps themselves, I suppose. Like, if you just went into these maps without reading the user logs, you probably would not understand, like, why they're all like this. You could probably try to piece together your own story, but I do think the user logs definitely add to it. Well, with that being said, that's going to end off our little adventure in the recent tab. I don't plan on doing this again, because I feel like it just gets samey and repetitive after a while. Well, that's where I'm going to end this off for real this time. Bye-bye. So the creator of the Iter maps actually deleted all of his workshop content. What the fuck? God damn it.